Hello, and welcome to another awesome episode about health and nutrition. Thank you for tuning in. This is Brandy Lloyd at Brandy Lloyd Holistic Nutrition and Personal Training. Today, I wanted to talk to you about asthma. Asthma is near and dear to my heart in many ways. As a child, I had what I can only describe as like exercise-induced asthma, maybe like a stress-induced asthma, maybe like when I was playing sports and I was getting kind of stressed out, or maybe it was like hot or whatever, my chest would tighten. As I got older in my 20s, sure, I did have a albuterol inhaler to use on occasion, and I can kind of feel the chest tightening kind of coming on, which of course stresses you out a little bit, when you can't breathe. But more importantly than that, my second son was born with allergy issues, skin issues, breathing issues, and I believe he was less than a month old and already suffering from his first bout of croup. And he was born in 96, and I didn't know then what I know now. Oh, boy, do I. But what I want to talk to you about today is my own personal experience in our family as to the rather disappointing treatment for asthma and the effects of that, and kind of just a little bit of theory and anecdotal evidence, meaning clinicians that have applied certain practices in their own clinics and have seen amazing results with actually natural, I hesitate to say cures, but definitely getting asthma under control. And in some cases, symptoms of asthma, wheezing, and everything gone. For us in our family, corticosteroids were used, bronchodilators. We were on, our son was on a variety of different kinds of medications, from inhaled powders to having our own nebulizer machines that, for opening up his airways. It's just frustrating, and so from what I'm learning now, that it really doesn't have to be that way. And this is the issue, is way back in 1698, I'm going to make sure that I check out my notes here so I don't miss anything. Way back in 1698 was the first time a researcher actually posed concern and interest and kind of theorized that our gut health has a correlation between your gut health and an asthmatic response, wheezing and tightening of the chest. And, our guts are complex, and I talk about gut health a lot, and this is not a new concept in health, but it is one that is often forgotten in modern medicine. I believe it was, I was going to get that quote out and I can't find it. All right, if I find it throughout the podcast, then I'll make sure that I read it. But let's just say it's from like the 1400s, talking about our guts, and pretty much the root of all disease is coming from our digestion. I've said it before that 60% of our autoimmune cells are located in our digestive tract. So that kind of does make sense. But our guts are very complex. There's acids and enzymes and good bacteria and bad bacteria and all sorts of little let's just say people in the neighborhood. It's a big neighborhood. It's a big environment. I always talk to my own clients about their gut environment, and we need to make sure that it's balanced, and especially in terms of acidity and we want the pH levels to be in a certain range. And so I do recommend that people get their gut health checked. And when I suggest getting their gut health checked, I'm not just talking about like esophageal acidity. Like if you're having acid reflux or GERD or heartburn or something, they go down and they scope and they check to see, if there's any level of acid in your esophagus. Well, esophagus is a completely different type of tissue tissue than in your stomach itself. And so it doesn't paint the full picture. But what we're looking for is a gastric pH test. Want to know what that range is. What's the level of acidity like? Because we need to have a certain level of acidic environment in order to break down the foods that we're eating. If we are, unbeknownst to us, eating foods that we're allergic to, then our stomach is going to have a hard time breaking that down if it doesn't have enough acid. That's just the way it works. And so that's what they're looking at with, what they've been looking at with asthma. But unfortunately, when our conventional medical doctors are in school, they're just really learning to treat the symptoms of asthma and manage that and keep our kids and adults alive. They're really, for some reason, not looking down to the root cause. What's going on here? Why is this even happening? And I suspect that, I know I talk about big pharma all the time, but there's a lot of money to be made in pharmaceuticals. And I know that if you're listening, everybody who's listening right now, definitely know at least one asthmatic if you're not one. I actually have a hard time thinking of somebody that has not experienced asthma at some point of their lives. So I'm not going to be giving protocol here or go out and do this kind of treatment. I'm just going to give you some things to think about today and maybe talk to your own doctor about it. And there are other companies that are out there that you do not need a physician to get certain gut tests done. And I know I prefer to go that way with a lot of my own clients with some of the blood testing and having that read, and also some of the gut testing where they break it down and help you read it. And as you make changes in your lifestyle, then you can retest. We'll talk a little bit more about those companies in the future. But this is just kind of like in a nutshell. Basically, what researchers have found, especially in treating children with asthma, that a lot of these kids have low levels of stomach acid, really, really low levels of stomach acid. Like 80% of the kids in this one study, just one study, 80% of the kids showed lower than normal stomach acid. And what this doctor did, he suspicioned, because if we don't have proper levels of stomach acid, we're not actually able to break down and utilize vitamin B12 for one. So what he started doing was he started injecting these children with vitamin B12 and also some hydrochloric acid and then pepsin, which is an enzyme which helps break everything down. And he started also looking at their food allergies, testing them, making sure that they were avoiding foods that they were allergic to. And then he was also supplementing some magnesium and B6, both of which have been known to lessen the severity and frequency of asthmatic attacks. So this is so exciting. And there is a difference between, just taking B12 orally and the super, I'm just going to say, high doses and get it in quick B12. Now, B12 is not going to stop you in the midst of having a asthma attack. Like I just mentioned, supplement magnesium and B6 is going to have more of a quick response. But it's just something to think about. The simple act of balancing out an asthmatic's stomach acid has usually between 5 and 30 days has completely stopped all chest tightening and wheezing and everything, or diminished it incredibly. So I was really excited to hear about that. As I learned these things, I just love sharing them. And yes, there are protocols, and yes, it's a good idea to work with a practitioner or medical professional as you're doing these things instead of just throwing out your inhalers. But I fear that most of us already understand the damage that a lot of these steroidal inhalers do to us. My own son because he had eczema as well, and I'm sure he doesn't mind me sharing this. He always had hot spots of eczema all over his body. And occasionally, 1 or 2 times a year, it would get so bad that we would have to actually use a steroid cream on him. Well, by the time he was about 16, because we worried about infection too. He was a wrestler and he did track and field and football and baseball and a variety of sports. And we were always worried about these open sores on him and being at school. So when he just couldn't handle it anymore, then we would go in and do unfortunately, the steroidal cream. So eventually he was having like a panic attacks associated with doing the steroidal creams. And that was the first thing that the pediatrician said, pull him off of that. He can't do that anymore. So just the slow drip of, even though we hated to use some of these pharmaceuticals on our son, we just really felt that there was no other choice. And with asthma, every time I would hear about somebody like 21, 27 dying from an asthma attack, and I tell you what, I'm sure if any of you are parents, it is dang near impossible to get your kid to take their inhaler anywhere. Where's your inhaler? Where's your inhaler? I had one in the purse. We had one in the car. Everywhere. It's just a real pain in the butt. And so I'm really excited about I'm going to talk to him and see if he would like me to put him through a protocol. Now, food allergies are a big, important piece of this puzzle. And it's also recommended to pull kids off of things like, or adults off of dairy, especially during this kind of trial. And it is a trial. Everybody's different, but I just love the numbers. I've read research after research, and this was an area that, truthfully, I just really never thought of. Yes, we've considered his allergies over the years. Environmental allergies are a big component when it comes to dealing with the effects of asthma, but all your food, your water, your genetics, and also environmental disruptors. So I hope you enjoyed that. Something to think about. I welcome you to do, of course, your own little bit of research on it. Talk to your doctor about it and find out what they know. Chances are they don't know a whole lot. They don't know a whole lot. And also, if you do get a doctor, now, if you have a functional medical doctor, then they're definitely going to know. I'm not saying definitely. They're more than likely going to know about this. And then you're going to have a much easier time asking to see if you can try this out with yourself or your child or loved one. But make sure that when they do the pH test, it's a gastric pH test and not the esophageal acidity. That's number one. And number two, it's an injectable vitamin B12. And then it is using hydrochloric acid and pepsin. And then it's paying close attention to the food allergies, especially dairy, like we talked about. And then also there's a suggestion about supplementing magnesium and vitamin B6 to help lessen the frequency of the asthma attacks in general. So that's not necessarily the whole picture of the protocol. You shouldn't be able to get yourself into too much trouble with that. Just a reminder that this is not medical advice. These are simple health and lifestyle tips. And I'm just so excited the amount of research that is coming forth that's even reopened. There's a whole new mindset, looking and reevaluating different things, and I'm not talking just about looking at stomach acid, but also looking at mindfulness and endocrine disruptors and looking at the effects of cannabis. And on that, I'm going to leave you with one controversial little thought there. I was really disappointed to see a little news flash on a feed about how with cannabis now being legalized in most of the United States, a lot of research is being opened up. It's really awesome. There's a lot of safety measures that are being put in place too, as far as here in California where I live, making sure that the growers are putting their products through third-party lab testing to make sure that there isn't any glyphosate like Roundup or other pesticides and mold toxins. When here you think you're choosing a healthy herb for treatment or even supplementing just good health, that you could be introducing chemicals or toxins. So the lab testing is also awesome. But this is the kicker, is we just now have our first pharmaceutical company who has realized the amazing effects that the cannabis plant has as an anti-seizure measure. And they have chemicalized it, they've studied it, they've broken it down, they have chemicalized it, and they've put it in the form of a pill, which they're now saying will run about $32,000 per year. And of course, you can go to your doctor, and if your child who has seizures, and I think it's like 2 different types of epilepsy, I can't remember what they are off the top of my head, but you hopefully, your